Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important news from the sports card hobby. We'll have some debates, opinions, new release schedules, and info. Plus, we'll also discuss the sports that so directly affect the hobby we all love. We'll mix in an occasional gambling tip or two, throw in some life stuff, and bring you great guest interviews from the hobby and sports dignitaries. And if you're good listeners, we may even give away a few things now and then. Now, here's the guy who wanted the cards and not the gum, John Newman.
Welcome to Episode 18, Sports Card Nation podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be heavy on sales. And when I say sales, I'm talking setting up at shows, selling online, and I'm sort of going to interview myself. Not really, but I've been doing cards as a dealer since the 1992, but I even did stuff before that, and from shows. I had a store for 4 years. So we're going to talk about stores in the modern day, shows in the modern day, selling online, some tips, some tricks, not so much tricks, but techniques to do better, do fairly well. Some things will be common sense that I'm not breaking any news that you know of. We'll just kind of go over it and cement that kind of stuff in. And then other things might be kind of new concepts as well. So we're going to talk about that. Some of the ongoing things in the hobby. Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s got quite the arm for throwing autograph cards as the hot button topic right now. I'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on that. March Madness has started. Nothing really to really report, but some more free agent signings in the NFL and that sort of thing. So here we go. We love our listeners. We know without you, there's no us. We care about your feedback and opinions and invite you to reach out to us at any of our social media accounts. You can reach us on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast. That's at Sports Card Nation Podcast. Or on Twitter at Sports Card Natty 1. That's Sports Card NATI 1. Or email us at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. That's sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We try not to ask for much, but if you are enjoying the show, we ask that you give us a shout out, tell your friends, spread the word, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter, and we love positive reviews. So we'd appreciate if you took a minute and gave us a positive review on any platform you're listening to the show on. Thank you. Brooklyn Breakers run their company with the fun of the hobby in mind. They have some of the lowest priced breaks, many as low as $19.99 a spot. Every spot is guaranteed an autograph card, so there's no way for you to get skunked. From mid-tier to high-end, Brooklyn Breakers have you covered. No one goes hitless ever. Check out their specials and offerings at brooklynbreakers.net or at Twitter at Brooklyn Breakers. That's at BKLYN Breakers, or on Facebook at Brooklyn Breakers. Brooklyn Breakers, where the hits just keep on coming. All right, it's time for What's Crackin'. All right, time for the hobby news portion of the program. Let's talk about the new releases that are coming out this week or are just out. So, Cop's Inception came out on the 20th, yesterday, as I'm recording this podcast. I bought a case, but I sold some for personal breaks. But I opened one box myself. I guess I can count myself lucky. I did pull a red Hoskins patch. to number to 25. And I guess I got double lucky because it was numbered 17 of 25, so his jersey number. For those that believe those bring a premium. I don't know. I'm not going to lie, just be a hypocrite just because I pulled it. I don't always think much about it, but my son was quick to point out, hey, Dad, that's his jersey number 17 of 25. So nice pull for one pack. Lighter color this year, so they went with the lighter pastels kind of color. I think it's crisper, cleaner. I like it. I did see the other packs open that I did personals on. It's a nice product. I mean, there are some packs, like a lot of things, where it's, kind of duds. I've seen a couple of those, unfortunately, for who I was opening packs for. But like anything, it's a gamble. I did pull some decent stuff for others. So it's a chance you take. It's not in the grand scheme of things, it's not a super expensive product. It averages between $60 and $70 a box right now. So not that super high-end stuff where if you get a dud run that it stings a little bit more. So I like the Inception. I'm going to open some more, just not sure when I get some quiet moment. I might rip another box open with the few that I have left. So that's out. That's a thumbs up from me. Panini Cornerstones basketball, and as we all know, with this year's rookie class in basketball, any basketball product right now is pretty much hot off the press. Luka Mania, but Trae Young has really stepped it up. Marvin Bagley, DeAndre Ayton. So again, a rookie class like football, a great one. First time in a long time that this kind of level, and it's really driving these products. On the 22nd, that will be tomorrow or Friday. Topps, or today if you're listening to the show, but Topps is back in the football game. Alliance of American release. We've talked about this previously on the show. I did a poll where 41% of respondents said they would not buy this Alliance of Football product. For me, it's going to be one of those things. I'm definitely not going to buy it from hobby-wise if I'm at Walmart, Target, and I don't know if they're going to have it retail-wise, but if they have that on the shelves, I'll take a look at it. If it's maybe cheap enough, I'll grab it. It's one of those that just spur-of-the-moment impulse buys. I'm definitely not going to open or buy a lot of it. I don't think there's anything player-wise of significance. Trent Richardson, Christian Hackenberg, Manziel's now in the league, but I don't know if they had time, probably not, to put a card of him in the product. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Can Topps maybe last minute make like an insert card of Manziel? There might be some interest there, although many have kind of that port. Many will say that ship has sailed that port for many of people who were on the Johnny Manziel train early on. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this product does. Then some big ones. Okay, on the 27th, Panini Flawless Football. That's going to be huge. Speaking of that, Panini National Treasures Football was out on the 15th, and that thing is just raised in value, and Baker Mayfield's RPAs are just through the roof. I think a lot of that's the hype from Mahomes last year, although I am a Baker fan. I think he is the real deal, but what some of these cards are bringing is crazy to me. If I pulled one of those type of Mayfield, that probably would be a seller. I like him. I think he's going to be very good for a while. I'm buying in as far as Mayfield. It's not a knock on him, but I just think some of the prices that these things are going for one decent season, when you look at Brady, who's put together, an amazing career, all the Super Bowl rings, and this stuff from these young quarterbacks, Mahomes, Mayfield, is they haven't accomplished those sort of things yet. I think, but we know it's hype, it's speculation. I'd be a seller personally if I pulled something like that. But if you got disposable income, it's fun to buy those things, maybe put them away and kind of let them simmer, let them marinate, as I call it, and see where it all shakes out. So Flawless is out on the 27th. It'll be no doubt a huge hit, and some crazy breaking going on with that product, I'm sure, and some amazing hits as always, and amazing prices to boot to go along with that as well. Also on the 27th, O-Pee-Chee Platinum Hockey. Also on 27th, the big release day, Topps Gypsy Queen Baseball will be released as always. The very flagship type product. They do a lot of the same things that we're accustomed, the nameplate variations, the in the glows, all that. But I was reading on Topps website that there are going to be a few surprises, additional surprises that we're not aware of. So that's always kind of cool. I'm all about suspense. So suspense to be seeing what those surprises might be. The glass big box topper's been replaced by some smaller pack of cards with, I believe, 3 cards in it. Refractor kind of colored type inserts. So that's kind of cool. Box toppers are cool, but sometimes those oversized cards are tricky sometimes to display for people who do shows. They take up a lot of space, but I like them. But some people rather have 3 or 4 regular sized bonus cards than one big oversized one. So Gypsy Queen will acquiesce to those people. 2019 Topps Major League Soccer also on the 27th, and last but not least on the 27th, 2019 Rittenhouse Star Trek Discovery Season 1. So a lot of things, busy week as far as release coming out. Actually, one of the busier weeks on the schedule for the next month or two as far as that many releases in 1 week. So some big powerhouse products coming. It'll be interesting to see how the market bears out with these products. Let's go on to the hot button topic in the hobby. I'm sure you've seen the video. It's made its rounds. Vlad Guerrero Jr. Table full of signed cards, looked like thousands of them, and was caught on video chucking them into a box, obviously potentially damaging the card. So you pull that nice Vlad Guerrero Jr. auto, you're pumped, and you look at that corner, and it's dinged up. Probably not a good look. I'll stick up for Vlad in this sense, folks. I don't think, I think he's just signing the cards because he's supposed to do it. I don't think he understands how the hobby works and the values and how that whole process works. So I think he's just saying, I'm done signing this card. I'll throw it in his box. It goes back to where it's got to go and that sort of thing. I'm sure at this point someone's probably been in his ear. Hey, Vladdy, not a good idea. Can you just place them down in a stack after you're done signing them? So I don't really hold it. You don't get mad at him. I just think he probably doesn't know any better in terms of intrinsic value there. He's just trying to get through them. And let's speak of that. Look, if you've seen the video or still photos, the amount of cards on that table is astronomical. I mean, I don't know how long he's going to take signing these, how he's going to do it. Is he going to do it in a day and just be done with it? But the thing that struck me more than him even throwing the cards into the box was just the amount of cards that he has to sign. And just, this goes to that whole debate. Is the market getting oversaturated, overflooded? Are we going to see, maybe not a crash, that's too strong of a word, but maybe a correction? Is the market going to correct itself? Are we going to see a downturn, some prices drop, some, a mini crash? I'm not a doomsday guy. I don't think the sky's falling, but seeing that really puts it into perspective of how many cards some of these guys sign. So while, don't get me wrong, if I'm opening the product right now, I'd be ecstatic to pull a Vladdy auto or Vladdy patch auto, no doubt about it. You know, Acuna and all those type of guys, Trout obviously, but the amount these guys sign, when you look at it, take a step back and look at it from not being in the industry, but just the numbers and market perspective, it really makes you kind of scratch your head and wonder where is the hobby going to go. And this is just this year. If Vladdy has a 20-year remarkable career, he's going to be signing like that probably for the majority of those seasons. And that's just going to be a lot of autographs in the marketplace. Forget the ones that he signs in person and at the ballpark and wherever he is. It's just, I don't think the scarcity is there like the prices illustrate. And I think there's not going to be a crash. But if you're asking me my opinion, I'm going to give it to you anyway, but I think there's going to be a correction at some point. It just has to be. It's, I'm old, so I'm a big, economics guy, supply and demand. And right now, I think what's kind of masking an eventual downturn is the two rookie classes this year in football and basketball, and even baseball. Baseball had a great rookie class with Ohtani, Glaber, Andahar, that group. And football is loaded. If you remember the show, I gave you 44 names of what I consider productive rookies, all-pro type football players. We know the basketball class with Luka, Trae Young, Doncic, Ayton. I can't name them all. The list is longer than that. Right now, the rookie class has kind of saved us and masked a lot of ills, I think. But when we get a class, and I think football next year is going to be kind of weak with a rookie class. Basketball, obviously, Zion Williamson is coming. Those Duke guys are coming. I think basketball rookie class probably stands to have the closest to repeat to this year's compared to other sports. I don't see the rookie classes in the other major sports coming close to this year's level. So I think basketball will be on par. I think football's rookie class is going to be down. I think baseball is going to take a step back, rookie class. And then it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. Is that where the correction occurs? And so we're going to see. I'm going to say yes. It's not going to be a crash. It might not be like some people are really doomsday theorists, that it's really going to be like that early 90s crash. I don't see it. The market's just too strong to go that far down. But I think there is going to be correction. Some prices are going to come down. Certain things are not going to sell at levels they once did. And when that happens, as a seller, you have a choice. You sit on it, or you just kind of swallow your pride and sell it at a level you didn't expect to sell it at. And that's what I think is going to occur. So we'll see how that all shakes out. All right, so what I decided to do this week, rather than have an interview guest on, is sort of bring some of my own personal experiences. I don't always do that all the time on the show, on the program. But I've been, in 1992, I opened up a store. I ran it with my partner to 1996, so 4 years. Even then, I did shows before the store. I did shows during the store. I did shows after I got out of the store. And I went to the show circuit. And then when online got really huge, I went onto the online portion of the marketplace. So I have experiences in a lot of these different segments when it comes to selling and moving sports cards. And I wanted to bring some of those things I've learned over the course of 25 years. And a lot of the stuff, let's be honest, like a lot of things in life, folks, you learn sometimes the hard way. You know, the old saying, if I knew then what I knew now, and I could go back and do it all over. Well, this is sort of like that. I did make a lot of good decisions, definitely some bad ones here and there. And we're going to bring those experiences, and we're going to do kind of segments here. I'm going to talk about stores, having a store today in 2019, how you can do it, how you can pull it off. It is difficult. Some eBay tips, some show tips and things, how to market yourself the best at a show, and then online as well. And I figure we'll kind of start with the evolution with the stores, and unfortunately they're kind of a dying breed. When eBay came along, that's exactly what happened. If you've heard one of my early episodes of the podcast, was eBay kind of got me out of my store. As a young man, I was in my 20s. I was kind of missing out on some things friends were asking me, and eBay came along, and people were coming in the store. Hey, I can get that on eBay, and can you do that? And we were kind of competing against this invisible store, if you will. And then I kind of just said, I'm gonna can't beat them, sort of join them, and that's kind of what I did. I moved a lot of I worked out a deal with my partner in the store, and I left, and I took a lot of the stuff I had still and put it on eBay. I started doing shows, and I kind of set my own schedule. I wasn't locked in to a brick and mortar place, and I while I do miss it, I probably wouldn't, even if I could go back and change anything. I don't know if I would, but it was difficult then, and to me it's even more difficult now in 2019 to own a store, have a store. And I think if you want to do it, I think what you need to do is, number one, I think it's got to start with overhead. You've got to keep that rent down. We have a store, pretty much one store left here in the Syracuse area. I'm not going to mention it by name. And frankly, and I don't mean this as harsh as it's going to sound, he's only still there because he owns the building he's in. He's kind of retired. He doesn't pay rent. So it's, in a sense, it's kind of his residence. I believe he lives upstairs. And so, he doesn't have that overhead. It kind of the building's paid off, and he's kind of living there rent free and has the store front downstairs. That's ideal. It's the exception to the rule, but really you want to get into a place that kind of checks two boxes off: affordable, not expensive, and in an area where your visibility is pretty good. And that's not all. Sometimes that's easier said than done. It's easy for me to say here, standing behind a microphone. But if you can find those two things, you need to jump on that kind of situation. I think stores nowadays, when I had my store, I'm going to be honest with you, we were pretty much only sports cards. And then we kind of got comics kind of picked up, and we kind of acquired comics and start carrying comic books. We never got into the Magic or the Yu-Gi-Ohs like is nowadays. But I think to have a store in this day and age, you have to really kind of cover all your bases. Well, even if as the owner or the proprietor of the store, even if you don't know a lot about it or you don't like it, I think you need to have that product to appeal to the masses. And I know what a lot of stores do in today's day and age, and it's a great idea, is they almost take sort of a partner, someone who's into that, and they give them a showcase, and they say, hey, put some stuff out, we'll take 10-20% of the sales of these items, these Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Ohs. I know some stores, maybe they don't do hockey themselves, but they have a real big-time hockey collector. Fill that case up with some hockey cards for sale. Again, work out some sort of deal with on a commission sort of basis, and it allows them to cover a niche of the hobby that without the pocket expense. So, they bring someone in, they fill the case up with their stuff, and it really doesn't cost them anything to do that, yet they have that product available for customers who walk through the door. And obviously, that's sort of a win-win for that store owner. If something doesn't sell, he doesn't necessarily feel bad because he didn't lay out any money for it. And if it does, he makes a little money without shelling out some overhead to have that product in that case. So that's a trend nowadays that you have to look at if you're thinking about getting into opening a store. But you do have to run the gamut and offer a wide selection for different types of people. I think it's getting real tougher to just specialize on one thing. The other big thing, a lot of these stores now, let's be honest, they'll do online breaking right in the store. So it's one of those things when there's no one walking through the door, they're still supplementing that income. They're still generating funds through breaks and personal box rips and that sort of thing. I think there's very few stores now that can keep the doors open without a little bit of that. There are, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a lot easier when that downtime during the workday, when a lot of people are working and not coming through the door, to maybe do some box breaks, some personals, and that sort of thing. And a lot of stores do that. The other thing with a store, owning a store, you got to promote. You got to let people know where you are, who you are. And a lot of these stores do social media campaigns and do a great job of it. I'm going to mention a few that are off the top of my head. I'm not trying to single anyone out or forget anybody. So if you're a store owner and you're listening to the show, if I don't say who you are, don't take it personally. I'm just going to mention 2 or 3 anyway. But Burbank Cards in California, another California card store, Hall of Fame Sports Cards, also does a great social media. Big League Cards in Orlando does they're always constantly recording in the store. And RBI Crew, a group of guys, I believe in the St. Louis area, also have a strong online presence. And you need to have a strong online presence. You got to keep your name out there in the marketplace. You got to let people know you have a brick and mortar location. Come in. A lot of these places, you got to promote. A lot of them do. I know the RBI Crew gang does a trade night. A lot of places do that as well. I think that's important to get almost kind of a card show atmosphere in your store itself. And it's a great vibe. If you ever been to a trade night, everyone's kind of excited and you're making deals, you're buying product, you're opening product, and it get that buzz. And people remember, when people are excited and happy, they remember where they are when those feelings are. It's kind of like we remember moments in our life by what song's playing on the radio, as crazy as that sounds. And I think experiences in card shops are much the same way. Is you're having a good time, it's fun, you made a good deal, you acquired this high-end card via trade. You're going to remember where it was, and then you might go back to that store, maybe not on a trade night, but hey, this new product came out, I'm going to go there and buy it or open it up and that sort of thing. So those trade nights are a huge deal. I'm sure those guys, and maybe I'll try to get a couple of those guys on. We'll talk exactly that. But those trade nights are a huge deal to those stores. And even though you have a store, and I did this back in the 90s, I'm the dinosaur here, I guess, but even with the store, a lot of these stores still, not all of them, but some of these I know, again, the RBI Crew still does shows. They travel, and I'm not just talking international, but even other shows around the country, regional shows and that sort of thing. And when they're at those shows, they're representing the store. And they're handing out, I'm sure, flyers, business cards. They got their vinyl banners like I do when I do even shows myself. Again, you're getting that name out. You're making your presence known. And that stuff, all those things together, is a way to maintain a successful hobby shop in a time period where hobby shops are kind of falling by the wayside. I think I read an article that since 1995 to now, or around last year, there's only like 15% of the hobby shops from 1995 are still active, and that's an incredibly low number. But it also, I can understand why, for the reasons, even being involved in it as long as I have. It's difficult. It's difficult. People, it's a time-consuming venture. You have to, that's another thing with stores that you want to do, is you want to have kind of consistent hours. When I was in business in 92 to 96, we actually had another store, kind of a competing store, about 3-4 blocks away from us. And, not to be a jerk, but, he wasn't very friendly towards us, and he kind of let it be known, it's on, we're going to compete, and that sort of thing. One of the reasons we kind of got into comics, to be honest with you, pardon my laughter, was that was his main thing. And when he was kind of not very friendly with us, we said, okay, we actually reached out to him and tried to form some sort of relationship with him, and he wanted no part of it. So we kind of got into comics because that was kind of his thing. And we said, okay, you want to play like that, we can too. But one thing he didn't do a great job was he kind of made up his own hours. If he wanted to do something, he just kind of put the, we'll be back at 4 o'clock thing on the door, or, had to do this, be back then. And a lot of times I would have people kind of come in my store and say, yeah, I was at so-and-so's, and he's got a sign on the door, won't be back for 3 hours. I've had even people come in at that time and say he's supposed to be back 2 hours ago, according to the clock on the will return at, and he's still not there. So people don't like that. People will sometimes travel a little bit of distance to get to your location, and then they find out you're closed and you're kind of setting your own hours and ducking out. That really doesn't fly well with people. And he used to do a lot of that, and it really, really kind of hurt his business. Kind of helped us, to be honest with you. I'm not complaining, but in today's day and age, you need to have set out whatever those hours are. You advertise them. Someone has to be there, even if it's a partner, a relative that can hold it down for even an hour or two. But that's not a rep you want to get, as they duck out when they want. I'm driving to the shop and I'm crossing my fingers, hoping they're there and open where they're supposed to be. That's not the rep you want to get. So have set consistent hours, a set schedule, and that goes a long way into maintaining those relationships. All right, so from stores, let's segue into the eBay portion of this segment. For me, like I said, I'm not going to keep rehashing it, probably tired of hearing. eBay was kind of gave me my out of my store as a young 24-year-old guy, something I started at 20. And in a lot of ways, it's why a lot of the stores are not around. eBay's become, truthfully, the driving force of the hobby now. Let's be real. If for some reason eBay went bye-bye or just went overnight, closed up shop or shut down, cards as we know it, at least for the moment, would change. The industry would change. There's a lot of business going down on eBay. I don't have to tell you that. If you're listening to the show, you most likely know that. So if eBay went down all of a sudden, this market would grind almost to a halt, and someone else would, if they went down permanently, someone else would obviously fill that void. But eBay is really, there's billions of dollars exchanging hands in the sports card industry on eBay alone. Forget the breaking that we see on live streaming and that sort of thing. Just the singles and things that are sold on eBay as well. It's $1 billion industry. And it's really hard to do a business in this industry without having some sort of eBay ties, okay, as most of us know. And, I've had this conversation with Eric a little bit. Comps have kind of become the standard for what can I get for this card. The first thing people do now is run to eBay and go, put in the search and look at completed listings, look at current listings. It is what it is. And I list quite a bit of stuff myself on eBay, COMC. But I want to speak a future episode. We're going to have a gentleman on that's I consider him a COMC expert. While he doesn't work for COMC, he lists a lot of stuff. He knows all their fees and their fee structure. I'm going to have him on here probably in a couple weeks to go over and cover that. We'll call it the COMC expert. So for right now, I just really want to stay with eBay. And, when listing on eBay, me personally, I'm a buy it now with a make it offer guy. I don't like the 7-day auctions. Now I like the bid and buy stuff, but when I'm listing my own products and singles and wax, I'm kind of a buy it now with a make it offer guy, and I think that works the best for me. One tip I wanted: if you do that, you need to expect lowball offers. People are going to offer you insane prices to buy your stuff, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. So for example, I have an Acuna patch card on there, and I'll put a buy it now, $175 make an offer, and I'll get an offer $45 for an Acuna patch auto numbered to like 25, and it's ridiculous. You want to write back and say, are you insane and whatnot, and you can't do that. It's not good. You want to, I understand it, and you might say, well, what am I losing? He's probably not going to buy this card anyway, even if I piss him off or whatnot. And I tend to just try to combat that stuff with humor. So a lot of times I'll if I respond at all, I'll just be like, I'll message him back, do you have one? I'll buy yours for that price. Myself. Actually, sometimes I'll say, I'll give you $20 more than for yours than what you offered me for mine. Just as a little humor, you get a chuckle yourself, and to them reading it, they know their offer's kind of low at that point. It's just kind of a way to diffuse the situation, kind of take it down a notch, rather than fire back. Are you insane? You're dumb. That's terrible. And now you get into a private message war, and I don't know about you, I don't really have time for stuff like that. I barely have time for the things I do now. I don't want to lose 2 hours messaging someone back and forth, which is going to be completely unproductive, and you're not going to make a sale or any kind of deal anyway. You're just going to get yourself all riled up. So I'm more of a humor guy. What I'll also do, I know you can set the don't accept offers any lower than that. Sometimes I'll do that depending on the item. A lot of times I try not to. And sometimes if the offer is just really too low or kind of insane, honestly, I won't even do anything. I won't even sometimes decline it. I'll just kind of let it sit there and expire. And that's my way of saying, like, you're being ridiculous. So I think sometimes that gets to someone more than just constantly declining something. So, a lot of times I see an offer, it's ridiculous, and I just close that page and I forget that the offer is even there, and it just kind of, I think after 2 days it expires. So that's another technique that I use. Another technique that I don't use this, and I probably should have, and I kind of had my eBay for a long time, so I have a high feedback rating. I really got to see if I can change my name. I've never even thought about trying it. But one thing I do recommend, especially if you're starting a new eBay account, use your social media screen name. So if you're, Jimmy's Cards on Instagram or Facebook or wherever even on forums, and you start an eBay account, as long as it's not taken and it's available, get Jimmy's Cards or whatever your username is, because, and like I said, eBay's not going to be fond of me saying this, but what's the big hang up with eBay is those crazy fees. They get you coming and going, and the best sale is one that you can start on eBay And again, they're not going to like me saying this, but the one you can start on eBay and somehow get incomplete off of it. It's tricky because they actually monitor the correspondence. They look for keywords and they flag things and will threaten to suspend your account and do that sort of thing. But I've heard that a lot of guys will use their screen names to list their stuff on eBay, and then someone will kind of message them using their screen name, find them on Instagram, Facebook, that sort of thing, and then complete the deal off there. Avoid the fees. Maybe even the buyer gets a little cheaper because the seller doesn't have to eat all those fees. Both parties kind of go away happy. eBay's not thrilled if they ever found out, but it's kind of a shortcut, a little bit of a loophole to complete a sale and then avoid the eBay fees. And obviously you go on to, that seller would go on to eBay and take that listing down. So I've made a sale like that. A lot of times, I cross-post stuff. So something I have is on eBay and on the website, and it sells on the website, and I have to go to eBay quick and make sure I pull it down off of that so I don't double sell it. I've never done that yet, and I don't want to get in that situation. So that's one little trick or technique that you might make an off eBay sale and save on some of those fees. So now I want to talk about just generic online sales, and what I mean by that is on forums, on Instagram, Facebook, those sort of sales, not the eBay, COMC kind of organized where they do a lot of legwork for you. I'm talking about the areas where you have to do a lot of the work to push the sale. And I want to talk about some things to expect, how to do certain things. I think the first thing you got to realize and expect with an online presence is you're going to get immature people, okay, or kids. A lot of vulgarity, people playing games, private messages. When you don't sell it to them for maybe what they want, they're going to be a rude response and that sort of thing. So you need to expect some immatureness from collectors. You got to know that up front. You can't let it get to you or take it personal. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't even engage with something like that. If the few times that's happened, even with me, is, I don't even usually fire back. Worst case, I'll block. I'm not a big blocker of people, but I'll block them. If they're getting obnoxious or rude or vulgar, I'll just block them and be done with it and move on. That's the one common thread here on all these ways to sell is your time. Don't waste a lot of time with unproductive stuff. It's great to have legitimate, great conversations with people. That's not what I'm talking about. But all like the stupid little things or someone's rude, don't waste your time and just keep bantering with them. You can't get that time back, and it could have been used to do something else more productive, maybe make a sale or a deal. Move on quickly from those scenarios. Don't get sucked up into the tractor beam of those kind of scenarios. It's a lose-lose proposition, So avoid those, move along, and go on to the next person. The other thing you want to do is cross-post. You want to get that item, those cars, that lot, whatever you're selling, across different forms. So whether it's Instagram, Twitter, eBay, your website, forums, you want to advertise your inventory. The more platforms you're exposing your inventory to, the more likely you're going to move an item or a product. Okay. The one trick with that, folks, is obviously I kind of touched on it with the eBay or off eBay sales. Soon as something sells, you want to make sure you take that post down or write a note onto that post, this item is now sold. That way you don't double sell it or commit to one card to two different people and that sort of thing. And people will respect you doing that, letting them know that this card's no longer available so they can go on to the next post and peruse that ad as well. And shipping, when you've sold a card and you get into shipping it, well packed, okay, and prompt. Get that thing in the mail ASAP. What I do is, and I advertise it on all my business social media accounts, same day shipping. I'm at the post office almost every day. Maybe not quite, but almost every day. An order comes in, I'm packaging that thing up that day. If it's a weekend, I'm mailing it. If obviously it's Sunday, it's going out Monday. If the order comes in Monday night, that thing's going out Tuesday on a lunch break from my job. I'm running to the post office, which is 3 blocks from where I work. So people appreciate it. Think about yourself. Put yourself in someone's shoes. You pay for an item. You're excited to get it, whatever it is, a wax box, a card you really been wanting, right? You check that mail every day, right? You get that adrenaline rush. You want that thing. Is it here? What else is here? Some people like myself have bigger mail days, so there's always usually something in that mailbox. But you want that product ASAP. You got to realize when someone buys something from you, you have their money. They want their stuff. The sooner, the better. You already have their money. Don't delay. Don't leave a bubble mailer on your desk or in your office or in your room sitting there for 2-3 days, because here's what's going to happen. Of course, the buyer's going to ask for tracking, or is it in the mail? I haven't got it yet. And now you got to have time responding to that. What I always do is, obviously, I always send tracking right away. It gives them the tracking number, and it limits correspondence. Here it is. You'll know when it's coming. Track it online. I don't have to have, a message every day. Where is it? I don't have it yet. Did you mail it? That kind of answers all those questions right up front. But the quicker you mail something, we have a rep at Newman Sports Cards. We same day ship, and people appreciate that. And some people might even spend a few more dollars knowing that they're just going to get the product that much faster. And the other thing you want to do when shipping, and I do this obviously, so it's easy for me to say, but put extras in that package. They bought something, throw in a few freebies. It doesn't have to be the most expensive thing, but give a little extra value to the service you provide. Again, when I say well packed, I'm not just talking about the bubble mailer, but the cards themselves. Use those divider cards, cardboard. What I typically do, I'm not a big tape guy. I don't like to use a lot of tape. I think it's a bear to get through. You got to get scissors, then a knife, then a box cutter, and it's like getting into Fort Knox. So what I tend to do, let's say it's 1 or 2 cards, I'll put it in a team bag. I'll line that team bag with some extra free cards, and then on the outsides of that package in the team bag, I'll put some cardboard inserts, and then I have 2 business cards, one for the sports card business card, and I throw in a podcast business card as well. So I promote the show, I promote the business, and it goes in the team bag, cardboard sandwich, basically, cards between the 2 cardboard protectors, business cards on each side of those cardboard, and then I peel the tape and I close that team bag up and I put it in the bubble mailer, and it's well protected. I don't want to jinx nothing, but I pretty much haven't ever had a shipping issue. And it's a great way to advertise as well for future business. And in my case, I promote the podcast as well. Hey, check out the show. So anytime I make an eBay sale, I'm putting podcast business cards in the eBay sale. If I make a sale on the website, and these are going to people who obviously are involved in cards, maybe they have never heard of this show. Now they have. I'll check it out. Look, Sports Card Nation podcast. I'll have to check that out. I love sports cards. I haven't heard of that show. I'm in. Let me listen. And maybe that's all it takes. And a business card costs 1/10 of a penny. So what do you lose by doing that? I Vistaprint, $10 per 1,000. You give them away like there's nothing to it. So again, another case of getting the word out there some of the best advertising, that low-cost advertising that you can do. And so when you mail these packages, it's a great opportunity to promote whatever you're involved in. And I want to finish and come full circle here with the last segment when it comes to sales and talk about shows. I've done shows since the late 80s. I think my first show, I was 16 years old, so 1988. Here we are in 2019, so 31 years of show expertise, if you will, allow me to say that. And I've done, I don't know how many shows. I can't count. I don't even remember half of them, to be honest with you. I've been in different states, different venues, And so I'm going to give you some what I consider my show tips, to each their own. But these are things that have worked for me over the course of 31 years when it comes to doing shows. And unfortunately, I think shows are kind of going sort of the way of stores. It just seems like there's a lot less of them. They're more like regional big shows than the monthly or weekly shows there used to be back in the heyday. And that's a little sad to see. But shows are still going to be a viable part of the industry, of the hobby. And they're fun to set up as a dealer. But there's some tips I can give, to me, if I may be so bold, that can help you drive some sales. And this isn't me so much being cocky, but this just comes from doing it for 31 years. And number one, expect to conversate. You need to engage people. People want to talk about the hobby. Hey, did you see that last night, man? What a great catch. Man, he hit 3 home runs. Man, what do you think of LeBron? He's kind of sulking. They made a mistake. People want to talk the hobby, talk sports. So when you're behind that table as a dealer, you got to expect to do that. You got to enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was younger, 17, 18, 19, 20, I was probably a little more introverted with that, a little more shy, and I didn't conversate in the same form or fashion, obviously, I do now. So it's a trait that I've gotten better at the more I've done it, and I've done it a long time now, so I think I'm fairly good at it. And the more you do it, I think the more you enjoy it, and it becomes kind of natural to you. So you got to expect to conversate with people. You just can't sit there kind of with a sulky look on your face and wait for someone to say, hey, can I take that card? Okay. The other thing I do, and I've done this more in the second half of my show career than the first, is I actually greet people. I'm not like the person in like Target or a retail store may help you. You're looking for something specific, like at Best Buy. I'm not the Best Buy guy at my show table, but I kind of pick my spots. When I sense someone's kind of looking, and you can kind of see the gears turning in their head, like they are looking for something or they want to ask something, that might be the person I say, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything specific you're looking for? Anything I can help you with? You don't really want to necessarily do that to everyone that comes by the table for a couple reasons. It kind of gets monotonous. And the other reason is people kind of see that and they just think you're just an automatic robot that's really, you don't have a personality. You're just saying the same thing to everybody. So you got to pick your spots. You do this long enough, you kind of sense who that might be that you should do that for or with. And believe it or not, I can attest. I believe I've made sales just by doing that with certain people. So something to think about there. Presentation is important. You want your table or tables to be neat, organized. You don't want to just throw stuff on there. You want a little feng shui. You want stuff to flow. You want to, I'm a guy that I'll keep baseball stuff with baseball stuff, basketball section, football section, and things like that. So if someone says, hey, I'm looking for so-and-so, or I'm looking for this, I know right what part of the tables to direct them to. And people appreciate that. It's a time saver. It shows you know your products. You know where they are. You know exactly where to find them. So presentation, be organized too. I have what I call player boxes. I have monster boxes that have name cards, and they're sorted by players. And they're not handwritten index cards. These things are the BCW dividers. I have a labeler, and I print these labels of all the players' names, and I have baseball, football, basketball, by player. So if someone says, hey, I'm looking for, Trey Turner, I can go right to that tab, and everything in front of that Trey Turner tab is Trey Turner cards. And it's great because you got all of them together, and if that's a Trey Turner collector, they're going to probably start pulling out cards they need or don't have for their collection and whatnot. And you have them drawn in, and people like organization. So be organized. Another thing, and I learned this from being a show consumer. I don't like when I walk around a show, maybe I'm looking to buy some stuff. I hate looking in the showcase, and this might just be me. I hate looking in the showcase and not seeing stuff priced. Nothing's priced, and it's all there, and you got to ask, how much is that? How much is that? How much is that? How much is that? And it really creates more work for the seller. They got to constantly answer those questions. And the other thing, it makes me a little nervous because as a buyer, I'm like, well, he might tell me $10 and tell the next guy $8, or vice versa. I'm a price my stuff guy. If you look at my showcases, everything in them is priced. So no one has to ask anything. And those prices are obviously negotiable. And people know that. People will say, hey, you got this one marked for 25. Will you take 20? And you need to expect that as well. And a lot of times, I hate to say it, and I think a lot of dealers do this, they probably price their cards kind of knowing they're going to get a lower offer. So they kind of build that into that sticker price, if you will. Another tip, give stuff away free. I'm not saying give away the farm, but I always have a box of kind of free cards, some kind of star-based cards, sometimes little packs with some vintage packs that aren't very expensive, 87 tops, let's say. They're a quarter each, 50 cents each. And anytime a parent comes with a young child, a son or daughter, even before they buy anything, it's easy to give something away after someone buys something. But right there, I'll kind of take that opportunity to pull something out and hand it to the kid. Here you go, buddy. Enjoy on the house, courtesy, Newman Sports Cards. And it really goes a long way. It's very personable. The parent, the father, the mother, like, oh, that's nice. I can't believe you did that. And it sets a great tone. And maybe it results in a sale. Maybe it doesn't. It doesn't hurt you. And it's just, it makes you feel good. And maybe that kid, not to get dramatic, but maybe that little small token of what you gave is a future hobbyist down the line, and maybe they remember that, and they're back at your table somewhere in the future. And again, it doesn't hurt you. It's a great thing. It promotes the hobby. It's being an advocate of the hobby, and that's something I feel very, very, very strongly about. So, another one, very big thing to me. Remember, I told you, be prepared to conversate. Try to enjoy that. Embrace that. Remember, even those conversations that you have with someone, they may be 4 or 5 minutes, maybe longer, and maybe the end result is you don't make a sale during that conversation. That's fine. That's great. But you don't realize that conversation you have then may result in a sale a couple hours later when that person comes back and has a good vibe with you and says, you know what, I saw that card in their case, I'm going to get it. Maybe it's not even that same day. Maybe it's the next, if it's a monthly show and they remember you. Hey, there's that guy, very friendly. And they come over, have another conversation, and this time it results in a sale. So remember, those conversations may pay dividends, not in the moment, but later on as well. You got to sometimes take a loss on some things. So here's what I mean by that. Let's say you have someone looking at your showcases, and they're like, hey, will you take $25 for that? And you really don't want to. Maybe you paid that, and you're kind of trying to make a few bucks at least in the sale. But maybe there's a few other things they like. Sometimes you have to take a loss on maybe one card and offset it with another. So if your dealer does shows, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Someone will say, hey, can you do 25 on that? And I've said I can't. We're kind of close. But if you were interested in something else, I might be able to put a package deal together, and I could give it to you for 25 depending on what else you were interested in. And it results in kind of a bigger sum sale. You make even more money. So maybe you take the 25, when you wanted 30 or 32, but then now they've taken another $30 card, $40 card or more. I'm just using kind of that mid-tier sort of numbers, but so maybe you lose a couple bucks on one and you make it up more than enough on another in the bigger package sale. So you need to be open to that kind of those scenarios and those situations. You can't just be sort of a stick in the mud. No, I'm not doing 25. No way. Be open. And even if you decline an offer, do it in a polite sort of manner. I've found, a lot of times someone, I have a $40 card. Again, I'll use these kind of round numbers. And someone will say, hey, you take 25 for it? And I can't or I don't want to. And I don't snap, I don't say no way or are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. I just say I can't do it, man. I'd love to help you out, but I got a little more into it or not on that particular card, And sometimes if you decline in that polite sort of way, now they'll barter a little bit more. All right, how about 35? Now they've kind of met you a little bit more than halfway, and then you say, yeah, I can do 35. I'd like to get 40, but that's fine. I'll do 35 for you. If I would have snapped and said, no way, man, 25, no, that's crazy, that's the end of the conversation. They're going to walk away, and they're going to think that you're just kind of a curmudgeon, and you're going to lose a potential sale. And not only, we always think in the moment, when we're in the moment somewhere, but you're not only losing a potential sale in that moment, but you may be losing a potential sale down the line. That person might be at the next show or even at another show at a different location, And in other words, you don't want to burn any bridges you don't have to. And that's really what I try to do. Doesn't mean you have to bite my tongue sometimes and not say something that might be in my brain that wants to come out. Surely, but you have to do it. You got to think past the moment you're in. So that's it. I hope you learned some things. I'm sure a lot of it was stuff you may have already knew with a few twists thrown in there. This is coming from literally over 30 years experience. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching or I'm a know-it-all, but I've just done this a long time, and a lot of these techniques are kind of tried and true. And the other thing I didn't actually get to during the segment, and I know I teased it on social media, even the color of your tablecloth, to me, can make a difference. I went to a marketing class many years ago, and people associate colors with different things. So the blues and greens are kind of soothing, or, green, we always assume green with go at stoplights and that sort of thing. And so, green, blues, people kind of soothing. It's more calming. People will tend to think that works. There's a theory on red tablecloths. Some people think it's good because it means stop, means you'll get someone to maybe stop longer at your table. But other people sometimes see it as kind of an alarming color and kind of to ward off. It's a threat. So I don't know. I tend to go blue. It's kind of the best of both worlds, kind of a standard color. I believe I read somewhere blue is the number one answer when someone's asked what their favorite color is. Blue is the number one answer. So it's kind of that color. No, more people like it than dislike it. And I've always kind of went with a blue tablecloth. I don't know, scientifically, I don't know if it's more for my psychological benefit or if it actually works, but I like to believe it does. So go with blue tablecloths. You can't go wrong. All right, let's talk a little sports. I'm going to keep this segment brief. Not a lot of crazy stuff going on. The NCAA basketball tourney just started, so I'm sure we'll have some fodder on next week's program. Maybe talk about some upsets. Nothing crazy yet there. Free agency in football still going strong, but kind of winding down. Let's talk about some moves that happened during the week since our last program. Le'Veon Bell's now a Jet. That train show has moved on to the next station. Clay Matthews, well, we always kind of viewed him as going to be a Packer for life. Not so fast. He's going to the Los Angeles Rams. Still may have a little bit left in his tank, but he's an old 32. As you know by now, Antonio Brown's a Raider. I gave my 2 cents on that last week. And in a Antonio Brown-like move, the Giants traded Odell Beckham Jr. to the Browns and got Jabril Peppers to play safety, some draft picks. They got a little more in their haul from the Browns than the Steelers got from the Raiders. Being a Steelers fan, I would have rathered they got what the Giants did, but no such luck. And I think the Giants looked at OBJ and saw a lighter version of Antonio Brown coming, and I think they wanted to get ahead of that. I think they moved that. I know a lot of Giants fans were up in arms. I mean, he's a superstar player, and now everyone's like, all we have is Barkley. But I think they're trying to build around Barkley. I think they viewed Odell as a distraction, or at least one that was going to rear its ugly head, and they kind of wanted to cut it out before it spread, so to speak. So he has a new home. I think, at least initially, it makes the Browns, it obviously makes the Browns better. It makes Baker probably better. He's got one of the best targets in the game to throw to, but it'll be interesting to see. Rumors are already starting to surface that, Odell wants a new deal and those sort of things. He kind of an odd sort of fellow. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep him on the tracks and rolling, or is that going to be something that derails and becomes a distraction and ruins what potentially could be a playoff type year for the Browns. I hate to say it. I had this debate with my son, being both Steeler fans, but I think the Browns are probably, unfortunately, the favorite to win that division, and obviously you win the division, you get into playoffs. Obviously Odell helps that cause on paper with production, but does the sideline stuff, the off the field stuff, is it kept in check, or is it potentially something that could blow up? That's to be determined. We'll have to see. But we'll see how that all plays out. Free agency is not done. There's some still big names on the board. Prices are now starting to come down. Some of the bigger names have kind of found homes. The 3 teams that I wrote down, to me, improved themselves honestly the most is the Jets, Raiders, and the Browns. I think the Raiders, probably signed the most guys, and then re-sign after the Antonio Brown trade. They re-signed them. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think he's going to be good year one and behave year one because he knows people are looking for a meltdown to continue. So I'm sure he'll be on his best behavior year one. But it'll be interesting to see past that point what kind of Antonio Brown the Raiders are really getting. But they've really improved their team, which when you don't win when you just win 4 games, that's easy to do. But they potentially might be a sneaky playoff team. The Browns, just with one guy being Odell, significantly improved, and they were already trending up. So that will trend up even further. And the Jets made some low-key signings, and obviously Le'Veon Bell gives them a real threat in the backfield, something they really haven't had in a while. And it's going to help Sam Darnold mature in his development as well, take some of the pressure off him. So a lot of football moves. Probably the biggest off-season as far as players changing addresses I've seen in a long time. So I'm sure I'm excited already for 2019. A little nervous as a Steeler fan. A lot of question marks there. Well, the draft's coming up. The combine's in the books. Looks like Kyler Murray's going to go number 1 to Arizona, if you believe what everyone is saying. So we'll see how that all transpires and shakes out. But I'm ready. I'm already ready for the 2019 football season. And here the baseball season's about to take off in its own right. So, yep, baseball opening day has actually happened. Seattle and Oakland played in Japan, and it was Ichiro saying sayonara. And Topps Now, of course, is doing some crazy autograph cards and limited number cards and all that stuff. And I'm sure those will be flying like hotcakes as well. Paul Goldschmidt recently traded to the St. Louis Cardinals from Arizona. Just signed a new deal for 5 years, I believe $130. So at least look for him in St. Louis for the next 5 years. And if you heard our baseball preview episode, he's one of my picks to win NL MVP. So there you have it. Johnny Manziel's back in football, but now he's back in the States with the AAF in Memphis. And we'll keep sports segment short this week because next week I got a feeling we're going to have a lot more to talk about. So that'll wrap up the sports. If you follow us on social media, you saw that we will be doing a giveaway this week, and we are. It's a 2017 Diamond King Mike Trout. I believe it's actually a variation. It's graded by Beckett. 9 mint, so BGS 9, Mike Trout, 2017 Diamond Kings, number 67A. So someone's going to win it. The key word is rich. So if you need to either DM us, private message us, email us, do it behind the scenes so you don't advertise what the key word is, which is rich. So all you have to do to enter to win this Mike Trout graded card, we'll ship it to your door absolutely for free if you win it, is somehow tell us the keyword is rich. Everyone that gives us that keyword will be put on the randomizer list. We'll roll the dice. I'll randomize that list that many times as the dice indicate, and whoever's in that one spot at the end of that got themselves a Mike Trout graded card. So once again, one last time, keyword rich. Have a business or event you'd like to promote or highlight? Become a show sponsor. For a very affordable cost, we can highlight your company or business, either on the podcast or on our website or both. So whether you're a dealer, a breaker, or any other business, we really would love to work with you. Contact us at any of our social medias or email us at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. That's sportscardnationpc, all one big word, @gmail.com. We look forward to working with you. Well, that's it for episode 18 of the Sports Card Nation podcast. I'm going to say it like I do every week, folks. There's no us without you. I'm appreciative of that fact. You don't have to listen, but you do. You're here. Thank you. We're not here without you. I also want to thank the sponsors. We got a couple recent ones and a brand new one on this episode. But Brooklyn Breakers, I want to thank those guys. My hometown, by the way. I got to shout out that. Got to represent. But thank you to Brooklyn Breakers for joining the family, if you will. Go check them out, brooklynbreakers.net. Go to the eBay shop. All the teams are up there for a full case break this weekend of 2019. Topps Inception, we talked about that earlier on the show. Most teams are left, and a full jersey break. So they're doing a lot of breaks this weekend. Jersey breaks, $33.99 a team, and no one goes empty-handed. The one thing I love about these guys, they explain to me, no one gets skunked. Everyone gets, I'm told, an autograph card if you don't get something in the break itself. So there's no way you can actually lose. You're going to get something, and not every breaker can say that. So check out Brooklyn Breakers. I want to thank our new sponsor, Black Tux. You need a tuxedo or suit for the prom or wedding, online rentals. They're over 5,000 5-star reviews. These guys don't play around. So if you need to look dapper, look up Black Tux. Thank you for joining the team as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was a lot of me talking more than normal, but I wanted to bring some stuff with online sales and shows and eBay and stores, and I hope I brought some insight. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed actually doing it. I probably could have went longer, but there's a limit to everything, so I shut myself down there. So everyone, I want to thank you once again. We'll see you in a week. It's not that long. See you then.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.